Hello there and welcome to Everywoman. I'm Shuli Ghosh. This week we're celebrating International Women's Day, a global event connecting women all around the world and marking their achievements. So we thought it was a pretty good time to look at the strides women have made, all the barriers they've come up against in the last year. Well, our focus is on the Middle East and Asia, where change has been happening at a rapid rate. In Kuwait, women won the right to vote and to stand for parliament, and Yemen saw its first female presidential candidates. But in places like Iraq and Afghanistan, the situation for women continues to slide backwards. Well, Divya Gopalan is in Kuala Lumpur for the second half of our programme, where she's talking to two women at the forefront of change. Divya.
Shuli, thanks. My guests will be discussing, amongst other things, the proposed anti-pornography bill in Indonesia. And we'll also talk about how Muslim feminists are challenging growing conservatism in the region.
Divya, thanks. We'll see you a little later on the programme. But first, I'm joined now in the studio by Dr. Amira Sonbol, Professor of History at the University of Georgetown in Doha and specialising in gender and Islam. And from Kuwait, Dr. Rola Dashti, the first female candidate to stand in parliamentary elections there. Welcome to both of you, ladies. Amira, if I can come to you first. In broad terms, just paint me a picture. What kind of changes have women in the Arab world seen over the past year or so?
The changes are, of course, both positive and negative. And I think we're going to, as you mentioned, we're going to be talking about some of the negative changes. Today, I asked my class what they felt were the most important changes. And some of the changes, the positive changes they saw was what we would call empowering women. As one young lady mentioned, she said that she feels that women today know they can do. That means that they don't have to wait or have controls over what it is that they can actually do, that they can work. Another student said that it's not just that women can be educated, it's that today women have to be educated. It's no longer a choice of education or not. Even if you're going to have a career as a homemaker, education has become an essential part of being a homemaker.
So they're taking more control. They see themselves as having more control.
More control over their lives, more freedoms, as one other student put it. And I asked the young men, they seem to agree, and that is that today society sees that women are capable, and to them this is the big change. That socially it's acceptable for a woman today, and that this is going to increase. Of course, this is the younger generation talking, and to me that is very positive in itself.
Okay, well, let's talk about political changes, because there has been some groundbreaking changes. Rolo, if I can come to you. Kuwait, for the first time, women winning the right to stand for election, winning the right to vote. How did such a change come about?
No question that change came about from a long history of struggle and fight for almost 40 years. And then in May 2005, we were granted our political rights as a voter and as a candidate. That right by itself, as Amira was saying, just having the right empowered so many women that they felt that they can do much more by just not yet practicing it, but knowing that they can have it and voice their concern itself. And last year, Kuwaiti women has witnessed a historical election where they participated as candidates, as voters, as participatory in the political process itself.
No women were actually elected, but presumably you say that will change in the future.
No question that will be changed. We had, at that time, that election in Kuwait was, we had some tension within the society because of the disruption of the parliament. It was parliament dissolved. There was a big disruption on it. It was a sudden, not anticipated the election to be in 2006, while it was supposed to be in 2007. But when we're talking about women in politics, it's not only being in parliament. We're talking about women becoming as part of the government cabinet. We're talking about women becoming part of the decision-making process.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point, Rola, and that does bring me to the next subject, which is, Amira, what have we seen in Afghanistan as far as women's rights are concerned?
Well, we have to look at Afghanistan and Iraq as two countries that are facing a war, and usually societies tend to trench back and hold back and become very protective towards the women. So I do not see any changes. I mean, you can talk about Afghanistan as a democracy from here till tomorrow. It simply is not. People are not going to allow women to go into areas in which they can be abducted, in which they can be hurt. and therefore struggling for rights from within a situation like that is not possible.
Okay.
But I'd like to just add something to what Rolla says, because I think what she was talking about is extremely important, and that is the political role of women. That we look at indicators as one woman won an election, another woman didn't make it. That's not what it's about. It's about politicizing women, making women understand.
And getting them involved.
And getting them involved.
In the political
and I
process.
think that the women who are like Rolla entering into the political arena, we have to applaud them, because the amount of effort and energy that is going into this is quite amazing.
Rolla, if I can come to you again, what about other Gulf countries where perhaps we don't see much in the way of democracy in GCC countries, but are women's rights being advanced there?
Women's rights are advancing. It's slow, but they are advancing. The interesting part is that women in the GCC are building on the gains of each other. In a sense, again in Bahrain, we built on it in Kuwait. Again in Qatar, the Emiratis will build on it. Any gains women makes in the region, the other women takes it and move forward on it, because we share similar cultures, we're in the same neighborhood. Women is fighting the battle with some support of their male counterpart, who believe that we cannot advance in our societies without having effective role for women in the public sphere. And then you get the traditionalist and the radical Islamist who wants women to go back to the home.
Dr. Rolla Dashti, thank you very much for joining us from Kuwait. Dr. Amira Sombol, stay with us, because we're actually going to take a little bit of what Rolla was saying there and move the discussion on to religion. Over the centuries, one of the greatest challenges for women has been their role within religion. But even in this most conservative of areas, women have been forging ahead. We've seen women becoming Buddhist monks in Thailand, women being ordained as priests by the Church of England, and liberal Jewish groups adopting female rabbis. Here in the Middle East, we witnessed the creation of the Murshidat, the first female Islamic preachers.
I am Samira Marzouki. I am 30 years old and I am a religious preacher.
Samira is one of 50 women who recently graduated as female preachers, or Murshidat. This project is a first, not just for Morocco, but for the entire Islamic world.
There was a need felt everywhere, not just in Morocco, all over the Islamic world, that, there is a growing, attitude that the Islam practiced is getting, more and more extreme. And there was a need to readdress the situation in a way or other.
We will be teaching people in the evening time, and we will spend the morning time as mosque administrators. Also, we'll be having activities outside the mosque. For example, we will be holding sessions in hospitals and prisons.
And more women are set to follow in Samira's footsteps.
My name is Amina Dad. I'm 31 and I'm training to be a female preacher, or Murshidat.
The female vision of Islam is now beginning to come to the fore in Morocco, in an attempt to combat extremist ideology following the Casablanca bombings of 2003. The Moroccan authorities began to promote their own version of tolerant Islam, and it is female preachers who are now leading the way.
This decision by the government is a good one. What's going on right now is bad for Islam because people see the religion in a very narrow way. And we forgot about how Islam is a religion of tolerance, and we've also forgotten how to look at the rules and laws of our religion in a positive way, as a positive part of daily life.
The trainee preachers must undergo an intensive 6-month course alongside male colleagues, and only the best candidates are selected to become Murshidat.
It's a tough responsibility, not only because we are part of the first group, but also because Moroccan society as a whole is looking at us and waiting to see how well we will do. In fact, we are in charge of a big mission, and people's expectations are great because they expect us to be very positive workers or preachers. So you have to be ready for this kind of responsibility, because it's not an easy task, and it will not be an easy task for the up-and-coming graduates either.
The Murshidat's role will not include leading prayers in mosques after a recent fatwa issued by Morocco's leading clerics decreed that, in keeping with Islamic tradition, only men will be allowed to perform this duty.
When we talk about imam in Islam, we talk about a man who leads the prayer. It's known. There is no problem about this in the Islamic world, and for both men and women, all the women accept that, you know, the leader of the prayer is a man, you know, and that's what we mean by imam. But these murshidat play, you know, roles that are far more important than the role of the imam, you know. They go with women into their houses, they see their problems, their social problems, they guide them in every step of their lives, you know. So leading, you know, a group of women in every field is much better than just leading the prayer.
Men have a special role in preaching religion, and women have their own duties in this field. It's like in any company where you have different jobs. So women are already playing a lot of roles, and they have lots of responsibilities. I think this is enough for us.
And the early signs are that the decision to allow women to preach has been a successful one. So much so that other countries are now watching the program with interest.
The change has to come. And now it's time to make a change, not just in Morocco. All the Arab countries and the Muslim countries are trying to change into some, they're looking for something, you know, some sort of religious life that would not conflict with modern life.
Women preachers breaking new ground there. Amira, can I ask you, is that a positive step for Islam?
Well, anytime that a woman becomes involved in interpreting the Quran, interpreting Hadith, it's a positive step. And I think that what they're doing, creating murshidat, is a positive step. But here's the question. Are they only going to be preaching to women, or are they going to give them the chance to actually speak to the wider public? I think that the dynamics would be very different and very positive to both the males and the females if we allow this to happen.
Okay, Amira, stay with us. We're going to take a short break now. And when we come back, Everywoman goes to Kuala Lumpur to discuss the dramatic changes for women there.